Hi, and welcome to today's episode of the Be a Hero podcast. I'm Danny, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about the difference between doing things with perfection or doing things with feeling. So, I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I've been working on music again. I took a break during the whole pandemic a bit, working on other things, and I got really into doing a lot of other things, doing a lot of social content on social media and things like that. And so I've kind of stayed away from recording, and I jumped back in about 2 months ago, and I was just completely impressed by how much better my product is than it was before. So I've been making music by myself in my home studio, let's say, for the last 9 to 10 years, and it's been great. But I learned and I learned as I went through this whole time, getting better and better. But I haven't seen a jump like this since the beginning. Let's say at the beginning, you always see a huge jump when you're getting better because you go from knowing not much to learning a few things, and then it's kind of hard to tell how much improvement you're having. I see this with my English students, for example. When I start with them at a complete beginner level, within 6 weeks, you really see an improvement and you see how much they've learned. When I take on an intermediate student, is a little bit different because it's kind of more difficult over a period of 6 weeks, let's say, to see how much they've improved. I'm sure they have, and a lot of them you can tell once you test and once you really analyze it. But it's a little bit harder to tell when you're an intermediate level. So at this point, what I saw was a jump in quality that equaled my early time when I was starting out. And I was extremely preoccupied, let's say, by this and trying to figure out why is that? Why did it get so much better? And basically what I came up with is that when I was doing stuff before, I was thinking too much about making it the best song ever. This song has to be a hit. This song has to be great. This song has to sound so, and this song has to sound like this. And wait, that bass doesn't sound right, or that guitar doesn't sound right, or this vocal, I can do it better, and I can do it better. And it was this thing where I was basically stripping the magic and the life out of the music by going in further and further and further. So I'm not saying that it's not good to do that, but you have to know when to stop. And when you approach something with a perfectionist mindset, there is no when to stop. Perfectionists continue and continue and continue until either they get bored and leave it, or they get to a point where they have something that they just don't like and they drop it anyway. It's very hard to get to a point where you're going to say, this is perfect. We're humans, we're not perfect, so it's not in us to put something out that is perfect. Perfection, really, what would be considered perfection, let's say, would be if you did it really from your heart, really feeling wise. Make sure that you are ready to do what you have to do. You're not learning as you go in this case. When you're performing, you got to be ready for your performance. If you're getting in front of a crowd to talk, you're making a keynote, you better be ready for it. You better be practiced. You better know what you're going to talk about, and you go out there and you do it, but don't do it memorized. You're going to do what you do and what comes up, but you're so practiced that you're going to do a great performance. If you're not practiced, you're going to suck. And that's the same thing that happens when you do any other type of work. So if you're a musician, in this case, you should be going into that studio ready to go practice and trying to nail that thing in one take. Because if you nail it in one take, it's going to have all that passion and all that heart that you wanted to pour into it. Once you've done the same thing 20 times, trust me, it's going to be very hard to have the same feeling on that 20th take that you had on the first. Okay? So that's perfectionism. You get into perfectionism, you're not going to be able to retain what made that great. And I think now going back to the music that I'm doing now, the difference is that although I do have an eye for detail, and because of my sound engineering background, I'm paying attention to the intricacies of sound. Let's say when it comes to EQs and when it comes to effects and when it comes to these things, I'm thinking about them and I'm, being careful as to how I'm doing it and what I'm doing. I want to make sure I'm doing it correctly. But at the same time, I'm not going crazy just moving knobs all over the place trying to get that perfect thing. Before, one of the things I used to do is I had something that sounded great and I knew, okay, it sounds great when I equalize it so. So I would start moving those knobs already before I even listened to what I had because I wanted it to be great. And it would sound like shit a lot of times. So this time I've pretty much gone in, I've recorded things and I've put them on top and I'm doing it as if I'm almost mixing, mastering and finishing it all at the same time. I'm not going back to it later. I am, but at that moment I'm thinking I'm not going back. This is it. So I'm going in there prepared and ready to go and I'm pouring my heart into it. And what's coming out is just amazing. I'm touching just a few little knobs here or there just to take care of little problem areas, but that's it. So what you're getting is pretty much what was put on tape and or on hard drive, but it is coming out so much better sonically. It sounds bigger, it sounds wider, it sounds more it has life, it has a lot more life. So this is one of the things that I've really been thinking about a lot lately because I see it with so many other things that people are doing. People go into these things and they are overthinking everything so much. They have an idea, they want to go into business and they say, well, you know what, right now during the pandemic, I had this great idea for a new business and I'm going to go into it. But hold on, let me figure this out correctly because I don't want to make too many mistakes when I go in, or I don't want to make mistakes. That's what a lot of people think. Mistakes are good. Mistakes are the way you learn. So don't be scared of them. Embrace the mistakes. Embrace them with your full heart because they are what are going to take you to that next level. So I made a lot of mistakes on my way to where I'm at right now. And like I said, where I'm at musically is great. It sounds awesome. And I can't wait for all you guys to hear the stuff that's coming out of the studio. But the thing is, really, it's about doing things with heart and doing things from a perspective of, you know what, I just want to do the best thing that I can, but I don't want to overanalyze it. And I'm not going to worry about whether or not I make a mistake because mistakes are really the way that I got to where I'm at. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, not even with music, just with everything. And where I'm at my life, in my life right now, where I'm at, is a product of my mistakes and me learning from my mistakes. So mistakes are worthless if you don't learn from them. Yeah, that should go without saying. But anyway, so the mistakes. So I see these people going into these things, and what happens is they don't get their business off the ground. I know a few people that have been talking about doing something for the past 5 months, and they have yet to do something because they're still planning it out. They're still trying to see where they're going to go first, what they're going to do, what is the best thing to do, how should I get this going, and they think, well, I need a brand. I need to brand myself. If I don't brand myself, then doing social content for social media, let's say, is pointless because I don't have a brand. And that's bullshit. Because what's happening is, like I said before, practice, 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 and that's how you get better. And you have to be practiced to do something. Well, you can't expect to make your first video for social media and expect it to go viral and be the best video ever made because you've never been in front of a camera before. And at the same time, you shouldn't sit there and practice in front of your camera for 5 months before you actually post something. Post whatever you make. Take out your phone, put it in front of you, hit that button and say something. Say something positive, say something good, and then post that shit and forget about it. And then later film another one and post it again. They don't have to be long. 15 seconds is great. Make them as stories on Instagram. Do this kind of stuff, and you're going to get better at being in front of a camera. You're not going to worry so much. It's the same thing before I got on a microphone to sing. I used to shit myself when I saw a microphone. When I had to get up on a stage and there was that mic, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Practice. The more you do it, the more comfortable you become in that situation, and the less you think about it. I don't really, when I go up on a stage, if there's a microphone, I don't really think about the microphone. I'm not thinking about the microphone or that I'm in front of people necessarily. What I'm worried about is that I'm going to come off as authentic as possible, and not as that I won't come out as an arrogant prick, more than anything, what I'm trying to worry about and what I'm thinking about. So, just you have to start somewhere, and you have to just do it. You can't expect to just get all your skills and get good at something, and then once you're finally good, now you're going to show the world what you can do. It doesn't work that way. You got to pay your dues, and the way to pay your dues is by starting at the bottom and moving slowly to the top, and that requires a lot of patience. But that's the name of the game. Without patience, you're not going to get anywhere. Like I said, I started making music. I've actually been making music for about 30 years now, but I started making music on my own with my own studio and being the sound engineer for my music and basically playing everything 10 years ago. And if I put that as a starting point as to where I'm at right now, I've grown a lot and I've become a lot better. And that's because of practice and because I was patient. I could have given up 5 years ago, which I almost did a few times. In the last 10 years, I've almost given up on doing this because I didn't see anything happening from it. But you know what? I don't care. The point is, I don't do things, and you shouldn't either. You shouldn't do things because you're expecting a certain outcome, because you're waiting for that to happen. You should be enjoying the process. And the truth is that I enjoy the process of making music. I enjoy the process of writing it, of being in that studio, recording something and saying, yeah, that sounds great, or no, that sounds like shit, let me replace it, or whatever it is, and making it sound great. And when I finally hear that final version, or like almost finished version, and I crank those speakers and I hear it and I'm like, wow, that feeling is amazing. So it's the process. It's about the process. I mean, that whole part is so enjoyable for me, and that's when nobody has heard it yet. So the part when people start hearing it, that's a whole new kind of awesome, because you start hearing back from people. And although I try not to take compliments too strongly, because I also believe that if compliments are too important for you, then so is disappointment. So if I don't want to, I'm not going to feel down because of a bad comment from somebody. Everybody has their opinion, and somebody is going to love what I do, and other people are going to hate it, and that's fine. That doesn't bother me, and that's why I think if I pay too much attention to the compliments, then I'm going to pay that much attention to the insults that I'm getting for what I'm doing. So I try to stay in the middle and not worry too much, but it does feel great when people are enjoying what you're doing, because you know that you're making a difference. And at the end, that's my thing. I want to make a difference in people's lives. I want to share everything that I can share with them, from my music to what I've learned to everything, to all my mistakes. So either they don't make them again, or so they see how I learned from it and they figure out how, to pivot when something happens. So the whole point then, going back to this perfectionist thing, is that if you're a perfectionist, then none of that I just talked about happens, because you're still waiting to be perfect before you get out there and start showing what you've got. Show your imperfections. The imperfections are great. The cracks in that mirror are what make it beautiful. Yeah, you need to keep moving forward, and you need to keep putting stuff out. Whatever your product is, whatever your content is, whether it's comedy, music, coaching advice, whether it is cooking, recipes, whether it's photography, whatever it is that you want, business advice, financial advice, whatever it is that your content is, put it out there. Do it. Move forward. Nowadays, the easiest and best way to get people interested in what you're doing is by being on social media, because everybody's on social media, whatever platform it is. So you have to take care of being on the top platforms that your demographic is in. So figure out who your demographic is and then go on them. And a lot of people are afraid of TikTok because they think it's for young people. It's definitely not an easy platform, but at least not for everybody. But it's definitely something that will get you customers. And you got to also remember, if you say, well, no, my customers are not teenagers, my customers are in their 30s. Well, guess what? Those teenagers in a few years will be in their 30s and they will be your customer. So get them now before it's too late for you, before somebody else jumps in. So you got to remember that people stay stuck too much on what they know and they don't move forward. I've seen so many people have a hard time, still do, with the whole thing with having a smartphone, or other people doing things online, or people using an assistant, digital assistant, to do certain things for them. You have to move with the times. You can't stay stuck in the in the past. I know that people love to say it was better back then. Whatever, back then is over, it's finished, and you can reminisce all you want. But the fact is, we live now. We don't live back then. And you have to concentrate on the moment, and you have to move with the moment, or you're going to be left behind. So stop being such a perfectionist, because the true magic and the true thing is going to come when you start doing things from the heart, with authenticity, being yourself. Nowadays, people don't care for overproduction, and they don't care for this, maybe if it's a Hollywood blockbuster, you don't want something with cheap effects, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about you. We're talking about what people expect from you. You even see big movie stars that go on blockbusters, and they have some great TikTok channels, and they have some great Instagrams. Look at Will Smith, for example. Look at The Rock. You look at these guys, and they have great Instagram pages or profiles. They come up with cool videos. Will Smith has a lot of stuff that comes up, on Reels and TikToks that are funny, but yet smart. And that's just him being him. That's not him being, in a big blockbuster film covered in blue paint. But the fact is that he does his thing, and that's him. So when he's on the screen, yes, that's a character, but people know who he is. They don't expect him to be that character all the time, because he is who he is, and he shows that. And I think that's why he's as big as he is, and he's as loved as he is by so many people, because of his just authenticity, the way that he is. Same thing with The Rock and other guys like that. Gary Vee has been killing it this year on social media, getting bigger and bigger than he already was. And I think one of the big reasons is because shows like his Tea with Gary Vee have really touched the nerve with people. They've seen, he comes out sometimes and you can tell he didn't comb his hair, or, he's having a coffee. Or the other day I was watching one episode where he just got up to go make himself a cup of coffee in the middle of the show and had to answer a phone call. It's authentic, and people follow that because it's real, and people like that. So do it. Be real. Forget about the whole production thing. Forget about the beautiful background. White background here. That's enough. What do you need to see? I'm not trying to show you what's back there. I'm trying to show you what's coming out of here. The message. That's what's important. It's not this. This is not that important. It's the message. Musicians for years were making music, and nobody knew what they looked like. That was the beauty of it, because it didn't matter what they looked like. What mattered was the music they were making. Then came MTV, and MTV started showing people what the musicians looked like. And we had a long period of time, and I would say up to now, still, where people really worry about what these musicians look like and what they represent with their look, with their clothing, with their brands. And that's cool. That's opened up a whole new area for musicians to expand into, which is also great. They've been able to expand into other things by expanding their brand into clothing, into enterprises, into whatever, into different things in the sports industry. So it's all good, But at the end, the most important part of this is that you have to remember that the message is the most important thing. You could look great, you can have the best clothing, but if your message is not good, if you don't have good message, if you don't have a message with value for people, then it's not going to go anywhere. So you need to make sure that that is taken care of. So if you're going to worry about anything and worry about the detail of something, worry about what you have to say. Make sure that that's clear for you. Make sure that you know exactly what it is that you want to communicate to people. It could be big. If you're thinking, oh, I'm a life coach, I want to communicate life coachy things to people. Well, the problem with that is that life coaching is a huge, huge thing. The spectrum is from here to here. See, it doesn't fit on the screen here because there are too many things and you can't possibly cover everything. Look, I do coaching too. I do empowerment coaching for people, and what I concentrate on is self-empowerment. So people basically making themselves stronger, people having more self-confidence, people worrying about the way they feel, their relationship with themselves. That's really what it is. I don't talk about other things with people. If somebody comes to me and wants to know about how to build their business, that's not what I do. I don't do that because that's not what I do, period. I mean, I don't need to go into explanations as to why I don't do that. The point is my expertise comes into how to be in a good relationship with yourself so you can succeed in anything you do. So as far as having a successful business, it starts with you. Everything starts with you, and that's what I concentrate on. So my content, when it comes to that kind of stuff, comes from there. That's it. You're not going to see me talking about, finances, because that's not my forte. That's not my thing. You're not going to see me talk about sports because although I like sports, I'm not a fanatic and I don't know a lot about different types of sports to be able to come up here and sound authentic to you like I know what the hell I'm talking about. But this I do. Music, I do. Food, I do. So those are the things that I can totally talk to you about, that I have experience with, and that's where I send my message. And I make sure that my message always follows that path. And that's why a lot of times you may look back on videos and my Instagram feed and you're going to hear the same message in different words, but overall it's the same thing. I mean, I started this with the idea of happiness, how to be happy, how to lead a happy life. And that's where it started, and that's where it is still. At the end, it's all about being happy. It's about being fulfilled. It's about enjoying the life that you have, enjoying that moment. So everything I do revolves around that. Food revolves around that because I love the process of cooking. Cooking for me is an amazing thing, and that's why I went to school for it, because I wanted to learn that. I wanted to learn it really well to be able to get better, to get the skills I needed to be able to do this. And I learned it and I moved on with it, and I don't work in restaurants. I haven't worked in restaurants for 8 years, and I don't want to really. It's not I'm not happy there. I'm happy cooking. I'm not happy working in a restaurant kitchen necessarily. It's okay. I can do it, but that's not my thing. So I love cooking. I love the process of cooking, and I love the process of eating the food with people I love and being able to exchange ideas, talk about the food, talk about the wine that we're drinking with this food. I love all that shit. That stuff just makes me happy, and that's all enjoying the moment. I'm enjoying the moment I'm cooking. I'm enjoying the moment I'm eating. I'm enjoying the moment we're talking. I'm enjoying the moment I'm making a song, writing the song, playing the song, recording it. Those are the things. I'm not looking at when that song becomes a hit. I'm not looking at when, this recipe becomes the best recipe ever for, mashed potatoes or whatever it is. I don't care about the final result as much as I care about the process. Now, trust me, I have goals, and the goals are definitely there. But once you reach your goal, then what? This whole thing is finished once you get there. So you have to make sure that you're enjoying the process. When you get there, you're going to come up with new goals, and that's fine. But you have to make sure that you enjoy that part in between the accomplishments. You can't just enjoy every time you hit a landmark, you hit a milestone. Boom, I did it. Yeah, I'm happy. Now back to work. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I did it. Now back to work. No, that's boring. That life sucks like that. Of course you don't like your life if that's the way you're going. You have to enjoy it. Enjoy the process of doing what you're doing at all times and stop being a perfectionist about that and just concentrate on being yourself. Concentrate on putting your heart into whatever you're doing. Be passionate. Passion wins over perfection every single time. So be passionate. Do things with your heart. Be who you were meant to be. And don't worry about what anybody else is telling you. Do what you got to do. Get out there. Make sure that you become the person that people go to for the advice or the things or the content that you provide. Make sure that you're the best one at that. Because at the end, nobody can do that better than you can. Yeah, nobody can equal what you do. They might do similar stuff, but they don't do exactly what you do. So be the best at doing what you do. Don't compete with other people. Compete with yourself. Always be better than you. Okay? So I guess that's all the time we have for today's podcast. So I will be back next week with another episode. And till then, be good, take care, and keep at it, okay? Bye.